Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video on one of the most photographed areas in the Tahoe backcountry. A lot of the photos that you see circulating of the Tahoe backcountry are taken in the Desolation Wilderness. The Desolation Wilderness is located, if you're looking at a map, in the southwest corner of the basin. The PCT is the most direct way through the Desolation Wilderness and is often the primary route that people will take. Today we're going to be covering the two most popular routes to get to Lake Aloha. We'll be discussing the pros and cons of these routes, as well as offering some information on getting any backcountry permits. We'll be covering the distances, the elevation profile, and all the other things to see along the way. So let's jump into it. Okay, so as I was saying, the Desolation is located right down here, southwest corner. And right here is Lake Aloha. You have Echo Lake. Okay, so the primary two ways for getting, I would say two of the most common. There are a couple others that we'll touch on. But if you're looking at just seeing Lake Aloha for the day, there's two primary routes, one of which is a lot more accessible than the other. Okay, so the first is going to be from taking off from Echo Lake. So as I said, one of the routes was a lot more accessible than the other. This definitely is going to be the most accessible route. So if we go ahead and we zoom in, as far as parking, you've got a couple of parking lots right here. Both of these are free to park at. I've never had any issue. I will say if you're going to day hike, you need to get there early. They both fill up rather quickly. The parking down here is more for the Echo Lake Chalet, which there's no long-term parking there. You do need to park up the hill in one of these two overnight lots. Okay, so you're going to go ahead and you're going to begin right by the chalet, and you're going to just go ahead and you're going to take the PCT straight along lower and upper Echo Lake. From upper Echo Lake, you're going to begin climbing right about here. So we are 2.5 miles in. This whole stretch right here is not difficult. You do have one climb that really kind of goes up. You can see right here, it looks like we go about 7,400 feet up to 76. So it's like a couple hundred feet. Then dropping back down. From this point here, which is where the boat shuttle basically takes you, and that is where I was saying allows this route to be a lot more accessible. We'll go over that here shortly. It does start to go ahead and climb up. About a mile past the shuttle turnoff, you do reach the turn to Tamarack Lake, which, as you can see here, it is only 1/10 of a mile. You can also get over to Ralston Lake from here, another great spot. So these are two other little side trips you can do if you're on your way. All right, from this point, you're going to go ahead and you're going to climb. This is basically from the shuttle to right about here is your primary climb. It'll then start to level off. Lake of the Woods, you have a few different places that you can access it. It is down in a basin of its own, so you would be going downhill just to basically climb back out. But I will say that you can, as you can see, there are trails that lead down into it and then right back out. For this video, though, we're just going to go ahead and go straight. All right, so to the edge of Aloha, we're looking at just about 6 miles and 1,100 feet of gain. So taking this back, we're going to be just under 12 miles and 1,600 feet of climbing. Now, I will say you can take the ferry across the lake. I want to say that it's seasonal, just because it has to do with the water levels going through this channel here. Too early or too late in the season, there might not be enough water. So you definitely need to call ahead. Okay, so if you want to take the water taxi, the hours are typically from 9 to 5. I have seen other reports that they've only ran from 10 to 4, so on and so forth. There is a phone, which at times has not worked. Some carriers you can get cell signal on the end of the dock, others you cannot. But when the phone's working, you just pick it up, it goes straight to the store. There is a 4-person minimum, so you can either wait for more people or you can go ahead and pay the minimum. A couple years ago it was $22 a person. I believe last year it went up to 25. Feel free to correct me. So it can get rather pricey if there are just 2 of you and you end up needing to pay the 4-person minimum. And dogs are welcome on that taxi. So in the event that you want to take the water taxi both ways, you are taking 5 miles round trip off, which would reduce it to like, a 6.5, 7 mile day, or you could just take it maybe on the way back. Melissa and I actually did take the water taxi on the way back one year. We did it on like a record heat year, and the Desolation is pretty much covered in granite and it gets pretty hot on warm days, and we were toast. So we ended up taking the water taxi back, and that was quite nice. Okay, the second route that I want to talk about today in detail is probably one of my favorite ways to get there, just because of what you can see. And that is leaving from the Glen Alpine Trailhead, which is on the far south side of Fallen Leaf Lake. So you're basically going to come past Camp Richardson. You're going to take the Fallen Leaf turn, drive all the way around the lake, and just follow the road up to the Glen Alpine Trailhead parking. So there is a good amount of parking. It does fill up rather early. It's right here basically at Lily Lake. So from this parking area, you're going to take the Glen Alpine Springs Road up. If you're not wanting to go very far, just 0.6 of a mile in is this waterfall, which is really awesome, especially in the early season. You cannot drive this part of the road. The parking area is where I started it. But you're going to go ahead and you basically stay on this gravel/dirt. It's a rough road for just over a mile until you get up to the Glen Alpine Spring. From there, your single track begins. You're going to go ahead and take the single track up to your first trail junction, which is for Grass Lake. Grass Lake is another great one to see. It is an out and back. You can do it. However, this is a longer day. So depending on how many miles you're looking at doing, you might not want to make that side trip, at least on the way in. You might want to save that for the way out. Okay, so next we're going to get to another trail junction where you can turn right and take the trail to Gilmore Lake, which is on the backside of Mount Talek. It'll also take you to Half Moon Lake if you're wanting to do that side trip. Typically when we go, we just stay on the trail, go straight, and take it up to Susie Lake. I will say there's really no shortage of water, so feel free to bring your filter. There's creeks along the entire route. Next, you're going to come to Susie Lake. Another great spot, lunch spot. You're 4 miles in at this point. You've done about 1,400 feet of vertical gain. The creek here, that is the outlet out of Susie Lake. Susie Lake is a great spot to stop as well. We've stopped there and gotten water on several occasions. Okay, from Susie Lake, you're going to continue to Heather Lake. Heather Lake is 5 miles in. Not a whole lot of places to stop here. A lot of steep granite on this side. You could cross and check out some of this other area, but otherwise you are literally almost to Lake Aloha. All right, so 6 miles in, 1,759 feet of climbing, you're going to reach Lake Aloha. Again, this is my favorite route. It's definitely a harder, longer day than going in from Echo Lake, and you are committed to the mileage. There's more vert. However, I think there's a lot more to see. If you've got more gas in the tank, you can go check out Grass Lake, you can go check out Half Moon Lake or Gilmore Lake. So you really have the opportunity to make it a longer day. All right, let's talk a little bit about overnight permits. So all of these permits, for the most part, other than doing a walk-in the day of and hoping you get lucky and score a permit, you're going to be going through recreation.gov. So how do we get our overnight permit through recreation? Well, you're going to go ahead and you're going to go to the website for starters, which I have pulled up. You're going to search for the Desolation, and you're going to come right here to Desolation Wilderness Permit. You can book up to 6 months in advance on recreation.gov, and it's to the day at 7 a.m. Okay, so you're going to come over here to the right to select Destination Zone, and this is where you intend to spend your first night. So you can have backup plans. So here is Aloha. If you wanted to go straight to Aloha, you're going to select it. You're going to select how many you have in your party. And then again, we can go 6 months out, and you can go ahead and see the dates that are available for when you want to be out there. So hypothetically speaking, let's say the day that you want is not available. You could look at some of the other lakes in the area, such as Gilmore Lake. You could look at Half Moon Lake. You could look at really any of those like Susie Lake. You can select any of those as your first night, and you can still hit Aloha on your second or third night. Okay, so once you get your spot, the backcountry selection that you want, you're going to go ahead, you're going to select how many nights, and you're going to put a tentative itinerary in there. So if you don't score, if you're wanting to go to Aloha and you don't score Aloha, and you have to go to Half Moon Lake, or you have to, I shouldn't say have to, those are all great spots, or you're going to stay at Susie Lake the first night, it'll allow you to put your intended second, third, fourth, however long you want to be out there, but your intended camp for the other nights that you plan on being out there. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I plan on doing this for some of the other more popular spots in our area. But thanks for watching. Thanks for the support. Hit that subscribe if you're enjoying the videos, and until next time.